So,
To Jamaicans at home and abroad, this show, is watched by people and listened to by people all over the world. And you come here for politics, you come here for news, you come for information.
I can link you right
okay,
back.
That responsibility
hold
for
on.
seriously. The thing that has been
All right, go on.
occupying my mind for
All
some
right.
time now, but it was not the right time to speak about it because, of course, we were in the throes of a general election campaign and all the storylines and all the talking points from that, and there were many. So it would have been out of step with what was happening daily to bring this issue to the table. But with the election behind us, other things of importance need to be given the oxygen of debate. And I want to begin that debate about this issue this morning by giving a view I've long held. I believe that, well, I'm not one of those who believes that everything old is better. And how we used to do things in the old way is better than how we were doing things now. You can't compare the old days to now. Two different times. And what we have to do is those values that we held for much of the 60 odd years that this nation has been independent. We have to adapt to values. Now, when some people hear about adapting values, they immediately fly off their hands. See, that's the problem for the degradation of society. But if you listen to what I say, you will understand. You may not understand as you move along to the society. I think that this nation has done a poor job. We're raising children. How do you believe it? It's not something complex. It's something I try to do. It's so basic that the mistreatment of the inattention is causing so many, so much of the things that cause this country to be in the wrong. Here's what I from time to time, adults have had strange relationships. Adults enable children. Adults facilitate and encourage which is kind of so they mean well, but that something turns out to be detrimental to the development of the child. And you ever hear country people say, the upper will slap. Those people then uphold new slackness, fresh slackness from the children growing up in and amongst them. And so there's a cycle that continues. We've put up with the bad behavior of children for so long that it's no surprise to me the difficulties that we engage in this country on a social level, on a relationship level, on a relatable level. On people being able to reason, on people knowing right from wrong and calling out right from wrong and, putting distance between themselves and the things that are wrong. Telling people that what you're doing is not the right thing. Change up your attitude, change up how you see and do things, and we can continue our friendship or our relationship. But we're not in a position to do that because too many of us are maladjusted. Because the adults, when we were children, encouraged our bad behavior. I remember as a boy, there used to be one of my neighbors. There was a man named Nancy. They call him Nancy. I don't remember what his first name is. He rented a house from a man known as Busty. Busty Brown was the man's name. Busty Brown was a businessman. He had a jerk pork, jerk chicken shop in a place called Gutters in St. Catherine. So Busty rented Nancy the house. And Nancy lived there with his woman. There were no children there, but he lived with his woman and a few relatives. And they would encourage us as children to whine. Yes. So we would go to the yard and they'd be sitting on the veranda. The veranda has two short sides and a longer side, of course. And they'd be playing music. And they'd be encouraging us as children to whine for their entertainment. We were children, I may have been about 4 or 5 years old. My friend, Jermaine, lives in the States now, was there. A couple of the other children from the street, Ruben up at the top of the avenue. Yeah, and they'd encourage us to whine. And of course, we are children, we don't know better. So they're putting us in contest to see who can whine better than who. And we're whining, and they're encouraging us. And then, some of the big women who would be there at Nancy's yard would start whining with us, little boys. And they all encourage it and laugh. And, that one they can't whine good, that one they can't whine stiff, that one they on the waistline, and they'd be doing this. And it was a normal thing for us as little boys to have big women like that holding us in ways that we never understood were improper. And we're whining on them. And I remember a friend of mine who lived up the street. He had an aunt, big woman, could have been my mother at the time, easily. I was a little boy. And I remember she said once, never forget it, she looked at me and she said, boy, if me never saw little, she would have given me peace. I remember telling my granny that she said it, and she was furious. I think she confronted her about it. Yeah. So that's what the woman said to me. She said, boy, if you need a little, me give you a piece, all right, as a little you. I don't remember how in fact, there was such a confrontation about it. I was saying to myself at the time that, boy, if me didn't know some of granny that be, wouldn't tell her. So she said that. But I did. I don't know what caused me, because it's not like I was reporting or complaining. But I was just saying, I went up to so and so and so. And the lady see me and she said, why? My granny said, what? What she said? And it nearly caused a war. Because my granny said, you can't tell the people that. But to me it was nothing. And remember now, as little boys, the women and the adult men, well, the adult men, the men and the women, were exposing us to these kind of things, and it was normalized. I remember again, a woman who was steeped in the politics. She was the right hand of a certain member of parliament. And she would come to the house, come out the car, hail my granny, and walk up to me, and she would grope me. As a little boy. I think my granny saw one time, and draw and said, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that to him. He said, a little youth, he said, a little boy, he said, a little picnic. Where you do? And she laughed like, he said, where you going so far? So I'm just saying that this is what we were exposed to. So what kind of adults, what kind of teenagers and adults do you think many of us who were exposed to that kind of thing would become? And what would we think as children about the boundaries between you as a little boy and a big woman? Because the way that those women interacted with me and boys my size, well, other boys, it was as if there was no boundary between big man and big woman and little boy. We equal. The things a big man could do to them, walk up to a woman and slap her on the rump and grab her chest. We would feel like we could do that too, because that's what we were encouraged to do. So when you have a society where, and I'm sure many men across this country can attest to what I experienced as a child. So many of us, how then do we see our place as children? How would boys like myself react to teachers at school, especially the younger teachers? Would I feel like we're in their size? Are we going to behave that way? And will it be difficult to manage? And we will be focused on the classroom and academics? Oh, yes, boy, miss your fat in your shorts, in your skirt, you know. Those are the thoughts. Thank God, I don't know, by luck, I never thought that way, I can honestly say. I saw my teachers as superiors. Everyone, up to university, still as teachers that way. I never thought of a teacher in a way like, boy, you know, like that. I never, because I saw teachers as authority figures, thank God. But so many, like myself, saw it the other way. They saw it the way that they were cultured, they were weaned, they were nurtured. No boundaries, anything goes, big people and little picnic size, and the society encourages it. Break time, back with more after this.
My hands were steady, my eyes were clear and bright. My walk had purpose, my steps were quick and light, and I held firm to what I
My colleagues, I must tell the listeners, you know, my colleagues just burst into the studio during the break, I won't call the names, to say, George, you must be a cyborg. Because we went to school and we lusted after our teachers. I swear on all that I know. I have never, ever, I went to infant school, well, Mr. Lewis school first, then formal infant school, then primary school, then 2 high schools, university. I have never, ever lusted after a female teacher in the whole school. Never. I don't know, as I said, I was programmed to see a teacher, man or woman. That's an authority figure, so you don't look at them, you don't think of them like that. You don't bright up yourself with teacher. So, despite what I was exposed to, Mr. King can't believe man come in here and not confront me. And, boy, King, you know me very well. And I'm telling you, brother, no. Okay? But back to the back, I'm not going to let you sidetrack me, you know. All right? Listen, so the serious thing. So I'm saying, I don't know how the little girls were treated by the adults. I'm telling you my experience as a little boy, and I'm telling you that I understand why boys from my generation would go on to act a certain way, and that's because there were no boundaries between themselves and adults, between themselves and the women especially, because the women encouraged them to feel like they were equal to them. Women made little boys feel as if they were equal to them. How does that then affect the society? How it affected the society then, and how it is affecting the society now? The difficulty then was that so many boys in my high school batch group, uncontrollable. Certain male teachers could, get them to conform somewhere, but you have to be a bad man male teacher. I remember Mr. Lewis, who lived in Willowdene, was a disciplinarian, and the youth them with freedom. Mr. Wiltshire, chemistry teacher, who won the Walker Cup with Jonathan Grant in 1999. Brilliant man. So, and he was feared as well. But there are so many boys who just, you could not control. And so many of them who were uncontrollable in those turbulent years of teenage life. I tell people all the time, say high school are hard, High school are hard in terms of the subject matter, the courses you're doing. No, sir. Growing up is hard. The difficulty is growing up. Is feeling changes in your body, your voice deepening. You know what I mean? You feel power in your loins. You feel like, those are the difficulties. So the growing up in teenage years and the things around you in your environment and how you are nurtured and the things you feel you can get away with, and because he believes the teacher who's at Michael or Shortwood or Church or Bethlehem who comes into the school as a trainee teacher, you're a 14-year-old boy, you're a 13-year-old boy, you're a 15-year-old boy, 16, 17. You and I are equal, you and I are size. You even feel that the 40-year-old teacher, there's no difference between she and you. Same thing her husband does for her, you can do for her, because that's how you were nurtured. How do we instill discipline in children like those when they're nurturing, their weaning even was such that they were made to believe as if they were adults long before they could wipe their bottoms properly? And remember now, I'm stressing this, that I'm talking about the issue from the perspective of a boy. I would ask the women to say what their experiences were with men growing up. But I'm certain it would be the mirror of what I experienced as a boy, and so many others. And so I'm saying that we need as parents to pay greater attention. And paying attention is not enough. We need to help the children in our homes or within our reach to understand that for this period of life you are a child. You and adults are not equal. You and teacher are the size. It is Miss Smith to you, Miss Mackenzie, Mrs. Gordon, Mrs. Graham. And that way, you will get to the level one day when you are Mrs. So-and-so, if you choose to. When you are really Mr. So-and-so and so. But for now, you are a child. You play the role of a child. Some people talk about force-right picnic. This country has had so many force-right picnic that force-right is the norm. Force-right has become the norm. When you have a little boy where your friend, auntie, tell you, say, if you never lick, she give you peace. How does that force you to react to her? And every time she walks past, she's looking at you longingly. How are you supposed to, and are you not, would you be wrong in believing as a boy in that situation, that the way she looks at you as if she wants you, there's another adult that look at you the same way she wants you to? And what if I didn't have the strong parental support, who by confronting the woman and laying down the law to her, made me see on the back end, that boy, this is not right, you know. The big woman should not talk to me, so. And so I'm saying to the parents and the grandparents, it's not just about paying attention. It's about showing your child that you are a child. As a child, this is how you function. As a child, these are your responsibilities. As a child, this is how you interact with adults. And I know that this is not one of those topics where, you know, well, thank God it's not one of those topics that are going to divide us into PNP and Labour right. Thank God. This is one of those topics, I think, that is very important to this country. How do we get children to act like children? And even better than that, how do we get the adults to not encourage children in the wrong way, as happened to me and my dad so many years ago by neighbors who were just being entertained and call us and they put on the music and say, wine. And when we're having the JCDC has a summer series of concerts in St. Catherine, we call it Bandwagon. Yeah, so Bandwagon goes from community to community, having talent shows, and then they have the big thing in Old Harbour Square on, is it Independence or Emancipation? One of them night, yeah? The grand final, so the best of the communities come there. But when the bandwagon comes to the community, and you have the dance competitions and the children go up on stage and are whining for the entertainment of the adults, yeah? There was an MC, Joe, they called him. When a big woman on the stage and a little boy go up there to whine, Joe run him off the stage. Say, no, you can't do that. You know what, not even start burn grass and you want to whine from big woman. When so many in the crowd would encourage and reel, because the little boy fling up wine from the big woman. And I'm saying that these simple things have served to degrade the society. If Jamaica is a physical body, the body, parts of it have been putrefied, made rotten. by things like that. Adults treating picnic like big people. And picnic, because of how they're made to feel like them are big people by adults, starting to behave that way before time. And I'm saying that each of us who has a child within reach should impart those lessons, reinforce those lessons, because I'm suggesting to you that that's the only way we can help to keep decency at the core of this society. We can't abdicate our responsibility as adults. Picnic and big people are no size. And until and unless we take this thing seriously, then we're going to have a bad time. All right? That's my time this morning. No rising here. Quizmaster.